Hi, I'm Dr. Sanjeev Saigal. I'm the Director of Hepatology and Liver Transplant at Medanta Emergency Hospital in Gurgaon. And I'm really delighted to be here with you all today to discuss about what it means to have a normal healthy liver, how a liver is affected by various diseases, and how we can prevent the liver diseases in our country. And also, if it's an opportune moment for me to discuss with you, I would like to tell you about liver transplantation, how it is done, what is the donor, what is the recipient, how we prevent it, and how we make a healthy life of a person who has undergone liver transplant. Liver is the largest organ of our body. It is one of the most exciting organs, and we also call it as a metabolic factory of the body. Whatever we are doing, whatever we are eating, whatever toxin we are ingesting, everything is going through the liver. So let us first understand what is liver and where it is located and how it is important for us to understand about it. Liver is located on the right side of the abdomen, on the upper part, and it's a beautiful organ, lovely, soft tinge, pinkish and reddish in tinge, and a normal liver would weigh something about 1000 to 1200 grams. Liver has several functions if you really look into them, and you can broadly categorize them into three. One is storage, second is synthesis, and third is detoxification. Storage means that whatever you are having in your body, it's converted into glucose, the carbohydrates, and the fats and the proteins, and they are stored in the liver by various metabolic processes. And these are actually immensely useful for us at the time of crisis, when we are really not having adequate reserves of our own body. Then these stores are needed to replenish our calories, protein and nutrition. Second part is the synthesis. Liver synthesizes many important proteins. It synthesizes the proteins which are needed for your building of strength, immunity. It synthesizes protein which is needed for blood clotting. It synthesizes the bile, which is extremely important, the bilirubin which comes from liver to gallbladder and then helps in digestion. And one of the third most important function is detoxification. So our body is exposed to various toxins day in and day out. It may be in our foods. A lot of foods we take actually are having adulteration with chemicals. Drugs and toxins we take day in and day out. We have some problem, headache, we take a paracetamol. Some pain, we take a ibuprofen. So these drugs, then we are very fond of taking some alternative medications by choice or by part of our normal living. We don't even consider them as a matter of concern, but a lot of these medicines which we take are not actually the scientifically allowed or approved drugs, and they all enter the body as toxins. And what happens? The liver is the thing which detoxifies these so that these things don't harm our body. If the liver was not functioning well, then we really would be having multiple problems because of the toxic effects of so many drugs, chemicals and things which are coming from various sources, and we are ingesting knowingly or unknowingly. So that's the beauty of liver. It maintains our body in a holistic, homeostatic state to keep us healthy, happy and living all the time. So let us understand what are the main diseases which affect the liver in the long run and what is their impact on our body. So let me tell you the two types of liver diseases which we encounter. One is an acute illness, which we normally call as acute viral hepatitis or acute effect of any drugs, and other is a chronic illnesses where the liver is affected by a problem which continues for more than 6 months, and then it really leads to a state where liver cannot function normally. The acute problems are transient, usually not a big issue, but sometimes they can be a concern. And commonly we have this viral hepatitis which we see because of hepatitis A or hepatitis E, and sometimes drugs and toxins which we take. These can actually, some like drugs like antitubercular drugs or some alternative medications, they can damage the liver in acute phase. Acute means it's a short term, few days to weeks, and certainly less than 6 months. Normally these would manifest as yellowness of eyes, fatigue, weight loss, and you will feel run down, you may have low-grade fever, and they will improve on stoppage of these medications or control of these viral infections. Just doctor has to pick them up at the right time and treat them correctly. Rarely they can go on to cause liver failure, which is called as acute liver failure, where a patient can develop deep jaundice, alteration in her sensorium, they have water in the tummy, they become unconscious, and they are brought to the casualty ICU in a bad state. Blood is not clotting, they start bleeding from various places, the mouth, the oral cavity, it can bleed from gums and so on, because the blood is, they're not clotting well at all. And this is a very serious emergency. We do encounter it in our tertiary hospitals, but it is not to alarm anybody. One should be aware of these problems. So bottom line is, anybody who has an acute liver illness should go to a doctor. It should be a general practitioner, a medical doctor initially. And if he thinks that the concern is more than what we can expect, then they should go to a liver specialist, certainly to a good liver hospital, and get the treatment done. Now, there is a second group of diseases which cause chronic liver disease. What is chronic? Chronic means this problem is going on and on and on, and that problem is persisting more than 6 months. And then it's unlikely to improve if you don't treat these problems. And the commonest cause of liver disease which lead to liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis is shrinkage of the liver. The normal liver is beautiful, I told you earlier, healthy, smooth outline. It becomes small, shrunken, nodular. And this liver is not going to go well with your body, and it is going to fail at some time in your life. The diseases which cause chronic liver disease in India are, number one, viral hepatitis. They are hepatitis B and hepatitis C. I'll tell you a little later how you can prevent them. Third is alcohol. Believe me, alcohol is a huge killer. About 25% of patients whom we see in our clinics these days have liver cirrhosis because of alcohol. It's a huge problem. And lastly, there's a disease called non-alcoholic metabolic disease. That means non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, where the alcohol is not the culprit. It is your lifestyle which leads to fatty liver, and that causes the liver to develop problems later on, which again I'm going to allude to a little later on. And there is one more group of problems which are metabolic or inherited. You have metabolic problems, then you have autoimmune problems where your body damages your own liver. So there are so many other causes. You can really enumerate. There'll be like list of 10-20 causes, maybe more than that, which cause liver cirrhosis. But if I am asked to tell the top 4 reasons for liver cirrhosis in our country, there would be hepatitis B, hepatitis C, alcohol, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So what happens to these patients who have liver cirrhosis? Are they going to recover, or are they going to just worsen? And is there treatment for them? And what is liver transplant? There are a lot of questions. We can go on answering this for hours and hours as experts and physicians who are dealing with these patients for the last 20-30 years. But I have to summarize and tell you the salient points which may be of interest to you as an audience to understand and keep yourself healthy. Now, liver cirrhosis or you can say chronic liver disease, when it is there in a person, what happens? The person develops certain signs and symptoms. Most importantly, you start losing energy, you start getting fatigue, weight loss, low-grade fever. You come from the office and you're not really feeling well, you go to sleep, you're not willing to watch the television because you don't have energy. You completely get drained out. Then, if somebody is cautious, he'll say, or your wife may tell you, oh, you have a yellow eye. Or you may notice in the mirror while shaving that your eyes are yellow. Then you start noticing that there's a swelling of feet. And if you're more cautious, you'll realize that you're gaining weight. Initially, you may be happy that you're putting on weight. But believe me, it's a huge problem in a cirrhotic patient because it may be water in the tummy which is accumulating. So what you think as gaining weight is a very bad sign. It may be water accumulation in your body, in your tummy, which is called ascites in medical terms. And then you get bloated up. Then, in fact, you may start losing concentration. While driving, you may not be accurate in your skills in driving because your mind, it's getting confused. It's called hepatic encephalopathy, alteration of sensorium. Initially, you may be feeling okay, but actually your alertness, your vigilance, your level of understanding and ability to take decisions, they go down. This is the early stage of liver encephalopathy. And if it is allowed to go on, then you develop unconsciousness. You can actually enter into the casualty in a hospital in a totally unconscious state, which is called hepatic coma or liver coma. This is absolutely one of the most dangerous disease of a person's, which you can think of. Then one other problem which is very, very important as a manifestation of liver cirrhosis is bleeding. Suddenly you will find that in the casualty, or you may have somebody in the relative or friend or somebody in the society, you may have that he had blood vomiting, उसने उल्टी कर दिया, उसको हॉस्पिटल में आना पड़ा. Very common कि उल्टी आ गई या उसको लैट्रिन में ब्लड आ गया. This is extremely common and again a very, very dangerous sign. This is because of rupture of veins in the food pipe which burst and lead to either vomiting of blood or passage of black fluid in the stools. So this is called hepatitis, which is a very dangerous sign. Then as liver cirrhosis progresses, person can have kidney dysfunction, they can have liver cancer, they can have so much other issues because liver is not working well. Now, what alerts a patient to go to a doctor and the doctor will say, okay, now you need a liver transplant? They are one, deep jaundice which is progressing, having water in the tummy, getting alteration of sensorium, kidney not working well, you may have breathing problems, you may have blood vomiting. These are absolute indications when a patient must go to a specialist clinic, a specialist hospital, which is the best liver support. I'm proud to say in Medanta we have excellent support in liver. We have one of the best liver centers and teams in our country with international acceptance because we have a holistic management of all parts of liver disease which are needed to be taken care of in the patient's management. So, if you are able to go to hospital, doctor will tell you, see you, and they say, well, you need a liver transplant. Why? Because this liver is not going to function well for you. But please note that not all cirrhosis patients need liver transplant. It is an ongoing process. Somebody may be diagnosed with cirrhosis today, and he may go to live for the next 5-10 years if he's very well monitored by a doctor who's a hepatologist. Hepatologist is a doctor who looks after liver, is a liver specialist. So if he's being on a regular follow-up with a good hepatologist in a good hospital, he can actually go on a maintenance management. But there is a lifespan of a liver cirrhotic patient where the liver then finally fails. It is called decompensation. So what happens? Initially you are compensated and then at a stage your liver gives way. It's like you're stretching a rubber band and at some stage the rubber band breaks. That break point is the one which is absolutely alarming and one must be under care of a good liver team, good hepatologists, good surgeons because there is a time when you do a liver transplant. So I've made it simpler for you to make you understand that don't stretch a thing too far because if you go on stretching without giving support to the original structure, you're going to lose it. दोस्तों आपने सुना कि लिवर की बीमारी कैसे होती है, क्या कारण है, कैसे लिवर खराब होता है और आपको लिवर ट्रांसप्लांट जरूरत पड़ सकती है. पर क्या आपने कभी सोचा कि लिवर की बीमारी को बचा सकते हैं? You can prevent your liver diseases. So I personally feel that prevention is better than cure and any knowledge which is needed to prevent a liver disease or for that matter any disease is the most important part of a doctor's advice. As a doctor, if I don't tell you about prevention, I'm not doing my justice to my job. So a fit liver means a fit body, a fit person. How do you prevent liver disease? You can actually have simple rules of life. It's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How? Let me see. We can summarize the preventive aspects in a very simple mnemonic. A, avoid alcohol. If you avoid alcohol, you're really going to have a huge benefit because we know that about 1/4 to 1/5 of liver disease in our country are because of alcohol. In various ways, alcohol has a lot of problems which can go on the liver and these can be prevented simply by avoiding alcohol. Now B, what is B? B is a balanced diet. Balanced diet is fundamental thing for any person who is really wanting to have a good health, especially a good health of liver. And what is a balanced diet? You honestly don't need to go to a highly qualified dietitian, highly qualified books and all. Simple knowledge. Have a good diet which is very good in vegetables, which is very good in proteins. Vegetable proteins are better than animal proteins, but animal proteins like fish, egg and chicken are fine. Red meat is not that good. Oils, don't take saturated oils, but don't take boiled food. There's a huge misconception कि आप उबला खाना खाएं तो liver अच्छा रहेगा. It's not so true. Actually, some bit of oil and ghee is needed for your health, but have a good quality, unsaturated oil which is in your market which you can get. Go for that. Don't be again panicky that ये oil लेना वो oil लेना है. As long as it's in moderation, small amount, it's fine. That's what oil. What's C? C is care. Care for your hepatitis B, care for hepatitis C. You must be caring for your viral hepatitis B, C, drugs and all which you take. Sometimes people actually take these, you must have care for that. D is very important. I actually want to say D is diabetes. You say how diabetes linked to liver. Believe me, diabetes, dyslipidemia, hypertension, they are absolutely important because they are the main cause of fatty liver in our country. This is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if person has diabetes which is long-standing uncontrolled, if they have high blood pressure, cholesterol is high, if they have obesity, typically these patients develop what is called as fatty liver. It's called steatosis, liver में fat जमा हो जाता है. And what is fatty liver? Whenever the fat content of a liver is more than 5% of the weight of the liver, so आपके total liver की जो वजन है उसमें अगर 5% से ज़्यादा weight से अगर fat आता है, it's called fatty liver. And this fatty liver, A is caused by alcohol, which I said earlier, but very important these days, the simple issue of your lack of lifestyle, good lifestyle, obesity, poorly controlled diabetes, hypertension, they all lead to fatty liver. And this fatty liver, if you leave untreated, it can go on to develop, what is called as a non-alcoholic steatohepatitis and cirrhosis. And in fact, when we do liver transplant, believe me, I'm absolutely alarmed to tell you that both in West, in USA, as in our own country, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, related liver disease called NASH, is the second to third common cause of liver transplant in our own country. And in America, the last decade, they have analyzed the data and they found that fatty liver disease, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is the commonest cause of liver transplant in entire USA, which is ahead of hepatitis C, hepatitis B, and alcohol. So you can understand how important it is. So how do you prevent fatty liver disease? By actually controlling your diabetes, which I said for D, controlling blood pressure, controlling your cholesterol, have a good dietary thing, don't put on weight, go for exercises, go for gymming, don't let your children be couch potatoes, make them go to the park, don't give them tablets. I strongly believe that, well, I don't quote it, but I somehow believe that children below the age of teenage should not be handed a tablet and all, iPad and all, just like that indiscriminately. For homeworks and all is fine, you need it for the technology, I totally endorse that, but they should be supervised. You cannot just leave them and they're playing computer games and doing nothing. They should really play in the in the actual field, not in the playing football on the computer. Honestly, they should be going out, because fatty liver disease is a disease not only in adults, also in children. So that's the thing. So one should work out. Then E is exercise. So we have gone to A, alcohol, B, balanced diet, C, care for hepatitis B, C, and drugs and toxins, D, diabetes, hypertension, and cholesterol. E is exercise. You may ask me what exercise. Believe me, I firmly believe that there are 100 excuses for not doing exercises, but there's only one or two motivation for doing exercises. I mean, who would like to do an exercise in this weather of Delhi? It's terrible. But believe me, if you can move your body a little bit, it is amazing. Don't have to say that I have to do this much exercise, because invariably we are not going to fulfill our targets. We have excellent gadgets, the Apple watches, the iBits, Tidbits, and all, which tells you how much you're doing. But don't worry, anything is better than nothing. If you cannot do anything, even if 15 minutes of walking, brisk walking is good enough. Ideal is 30 minutes to 45 minutes of brisk walk every day, at least 5 days a week. Jogging is not a must. Sweating is not a must. Treadmill is good if you can do, but if you have knee problems, don't worry for that. If you can do yoga, it's excellent. So any form of exercise is good. Anything which is making your body move is better than not doing anything. So don't have an excuse for not doing exercise. Believe me, if you go and hit the gym today or go to the road, wear a mask if you have pollution problem, but do exercise. It's absolutely going to improve your liver. Now, this is, like we are talking the common things which are essentially very, very important to understand keeping your liver healthy. And one more thing which I think I should tell you, that getting vaccinated is very important. You must get vaccinated against hepatitis B, which is available in our country. Hepatitis C vaccination is not available world over right now. So for hepatitis B, there's a vaccine available right from birth. Every newborn in the country is vaccinated. The 3 doses, one at birth, one at 1 month, one at 6 months. And 3 doses of vaccination give a 99.95% protection against hepatitis B in your adult life. And if you're not vaccinated as a child, even adults at any age can be vaccinated. We all are exposed to various, ways how we can acquire hepatitis B. And the sources of hepatitis B and C and HIV are same. They're similar way, they're by parental route. So if you can get a vaccination done for hepatitis B, it's very important, and I think everybody in the country should be vaccinated. So if you follow these simple advices, you're really going to make a huge impact on how to prevent liver disease in you, your family, and you can contribute to the good health of liver in the society as well. Thank you.